When I watched this show, I could not help but think Kill la Kill. I just constantly reminded of Kill la Kill. And then I found out that Kill la Kill came after this anime, which then I got even more tapped in. Gurren Lagann, an anime about mechas fighting each other in space with the power of love and friendship at the very end, because 2007, that's what it's about during that time. Power of friendship and love resolve most of your issues. Well, we're going to react to this 27 episode series. We're going to react to this series, review it, because we need to talk about it. 2007, 2026, almost 20 years since Gurren Lagann been out, and we're going to go ahead and give it a review and talk about it on this episode of Oddly Reviews. So what is Gurren Lagann about? We have two characters, Simo and Kamina. These two guys live underground in a subterranean village, and they're trying to get to the surface. Well, as they're trying to get to the surface, they keep getting thwarted. But then Simo digs and he finds a spiral drill. Now this little piece of drill is a very important piece to the plot, because this thing pretty much runs the series. As Simo uses the drill, he can use it to run Lagann, which is a giant face mecha. Okay, cool, that's neat. But then they finally get to the roof after finding other Laganns and other mechas, and find a girl named Yoko. They get to the surface, they team up and defeat other mechas, other Laganns, they're defeating other Gurrens. Kamina gets the idea, I'm gonna get one and run it for myself. So he hops in one, almost dies, but his fighting spirit takes over and he's able to conquer the machine and become Gurren. So Kamina and Simo now have their own mechas, have their own robots. Awesome sauce. And they're fighting the beast people who are made to pretty much suppress the humans and keep them underground. And there's a reason for that. However, they're like, we don't want to be suppressed. We want to get out. We're Team Gurren. We are a group of people who are trying to fight back oppression and take over the surface and once again rise. So now the war between these people and the humans, and as they keep fighting, Simo and Kamina and Team Gurren are taking over, and they're conquering and defeating the bad guys left and right. They even at one point fight Vero, who is a guy I was like, this dude seems like the Sasuke, the enemy version, who was like, all right, this dude's a bad guy, but he's a rival bad guy. Well, Kamina and Simo combine to make Gurren Lagann. They defeat Vero and his mecha. I'm not gonna say robot, but I can say robot too, it's the same thing. Defeat his mecha. They defeat him, and he's kind of around, and he comes back multiple times to try to defeat Team Gurren, and he keeps failing. But then he also has a side where he's compassionate to his fellow beastmen and his fellow teammates, who are kind of just at this point just considered bad guys to defeat. They're really like just there to be fodder for the good guys, like Power Rangers. They're just evil. However, Vero is not 100% evil, and I noticed that when he had sympathy when his teammate died, I was like, oh, they're making him a good guy. 1000%, they're making him a good guy. Well, all right, cool. So I'm like, this show, the good guys teamed up together, they're conquering each other, conquering bad guys. No, all right, like when they're gonna fight their first big boss, where they're like, we can't overcome this. But then there's a twist. Around episode 8, Yoko, the girl who, mind you, by the way, like she's a fan service character. Every anime has a character as a fan service character. She is your fan service character wearing just a bra pretty much, or a swimsuit top and short shorts. You're wearing a gun and shooting around left and right, like no big deal. Like, and they're in the desert, so it makes sense. You watch One Piece, they're on the high seas, they're on beaches and boats. Like, it makes sense why characters are shirtless or wearing like bikinis. So I understand that. She's the only one who does it, but like the characters in 2007, they keep calling her overweight and out of shape, which I'm like, she's not. Like, why y'all doing that? It makes no sense to dog her out, but it's 2007, so you have to kind of like, well, in that time, the character's like, no, you guys are being jerks. But Yoko and Kamina, who they just seem friendly with each other. He dogs her out a little bit left and right, and she kind of gives him snapbacks left and right. They kiss each other before this big fight to try to take a giant fortress, a Beastman's fortress. And I was like, that seems out of left field. This is only episode 8, and that seems out of left field. Now, Simo has had a crush on Yoko. Like, that's been like evidence since they met her in episode 2, and it just seemed that like episode 1, episode 2, it seemed really evident that he liked her, and he saw that and diminished crush. I mean, just completely beside himself. And here's the thing. Your mecha, your robot is run off your energy, your life force, your spirit. So Simo is like distraught and he can't focus because the girl of his dream is now making out with his brother, which he's like, I thought we was friends, I thought we was brothers, and yet you're making out with this girl I like. And Simo and Kamina didn't really know that. Simo has never expressed the fact that he likes people, that he liked Yoko. Yoko kind of knew, but Simo's too young for her. But the Kamina kiss came out of left field, and they kiss each other again. And I was just like, that seems so forced. I get it. It's a shonen anime. So romance is not the biggest drawing point. Like Dragon Ball Z, when it comes to romance, it's not really that big of a thing. Like Vegeta and Bulma just hooked up and they had trunks, and Bulma and Vegeta had a one night, kind of like a one night thing, or Team Force I put it as a one night thing, and then Vegeta finally expresses his love in the Majin Buu saga. But like Chi-Chi and Goku, romance is not really a big piece of shonen. And I'm using Dragon Ball Z because it's like the king of shonen. One Piece, there's not really that much romance in One Piece. There is, but it's not. Like Sanji falls in love with Puddin, but she was kind of forced to marry him, but she falls in love with Sanji, and Sanji loves every woman. Like, okay. So, and Naruto has romance, but it's not the focal point of the series. I'm using in Bleach, Ichigo and Orihime, they like each other, but it's not really the focal point of the series. And shonen that does romance right, I would have to say Dan, but Dan is not really a shonen anime. So they kind of forced it, and to me, it threw me through a loop where I was like, that's not really good writing. There's just two characters who are next to each other, and because they're next to each other and they're talking to each other, we're gonna make them a romance thing, which doesn't really need to be a forced thing, but yeah, here we are. But we also need to have a plot where Simon is now feeling down on himself and doesn't really know if he can truly stand up and complete this battle, because his fighting spirit is wavering, because the man that he considered his brother and the woman that he has a crush on are now hitting on each other, and he's like distraught. So in this fight to take over this fortress, Kamina has to remind Simo who he is and believe in the Simo that I believe in, kind of thing. Or believe in the person that believes in you. Believe in me that believes in you is what he uses. And that your drill will pierce the heavens. So Simo, I need you to get yourself straight. And Kamina punches Simo in the fight to like wake him up, like, hey man, you gotta be better than this. I believe in you. Get your head out your butt. Let's do this together. And Simo's like, yes, you're right, we can do this. And he gets his fighting spirit back. They conquer the fortress, and they defeat the beast people, and it's one of the beast generals. They defeat him. However, in this fight, Kamina dies. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, dead. Like, Dragon Ball Z revival, that's happening, right? Naruto revival, that's happening, right? Like, Pain destroyed the whole village, but we can bring him back to life. That's what's going on here, right? That's what's happening, right? Wrong. Kamina's dead. He's dead. Like, he's not coming back. And the characters have to feel that weight of losing Kamina, who was like their hype man, who's like the main guy. And Simo now has to step in the role that Kamina was in, which he's a character who's kind of been like, he's the main character, but he's also been in the background. And to me, I was like, that's intriguing. That is very intriguing. Like, as a show that's your standard shonen, and was being standard at first, but it kind of shifted. And I was about that life. I was here for it. And even Rusio, who's a guy who's a religious character, he prayed to the gunmen, as they call them in this series. That name just finally popped in my mind. I reviewed this before. during my review, the gunman, he was like, okay, but gunmen are gods. And Simone commented like, they're not gods. You guys are not being smart with this. Y'all are just praying to something that doesn't exist. It's not real. But he's like, no, they are real. Like, no, they're not real. And when Kamina dies, and this sticks with me because Simone has a moment of depression, moment of regret, moment of like the 7 stages of grief, and he has anger and he yells at Rusio like, where's your God at? If your God is so powerful, why is not bringing, Kamina to life? Why did not stop Kamina from dying? And Rusio kind of sat there for a moment, and one of the members of the team, there's a bunch of side characters in this, he like stops Simone from going into Rusio, and I was like, my God, that is some good writing here. And then there's a conflict that happens where Simone overcomes a challenge. Him and Rusio teams up together. They run the gunman together, the new Gurren Lagann together. And the conflict happened. They overcome the conflict. And then Simone comes across a pod that has Nia in it. And Nia is the daughter of Lord Genome, who is the Spiral King. So the Spiral King is the guy keeping the humans suppressed underground, because if the human race hits over 1 million population, heck will break loose pretty much. And he doesn't want to let that heck to break loose, but he feels like the only way he can keep that is to make sure everybody stays underground. So that's what he's doing there. Now, side note, before we hop off and get into the war that's about to take place, Nia is the daughter of the Spiral King, as I mentioned before, but she's also voiced by, and I'm about to make sure I get these names right here because there's a lot of people in this show. There are names galore in this show. She is voiced by Hayden Welch. That is the voice of Starfire from the Teen Titans Go and Teen Titans series.
This tangy yellow beverage is truly delightful. Is there more? Nia, what are you called?
Who, me? My name is Simon.
Simon! I think that name is nice.
Mind you, her voice does not change. She sounds exactly like Starfire. Like, that is exactly what she's doing. But this cast of the show also has a lot of heavy hitter. Johnny Young Botch, I hope I got his name right, is the Black Power Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but also that's the voice of Ichigo. He is the voice of Rusio. You have Sam Riegel, who voices Vero. He's the voice of Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. You have Sasuke Uchiha, who is Yuri Lothal. I'm going to say I get his name right. Yuri Lowenthal? Make sure I have it right that he's Sasuke Uchiha, or is the other guy that I just said wrong. Double checking that. Yep, Sasuke Uchiha, and he's the voice of Ben 10. Check that out. And then you have Kyle Herbert, who is the voice of good old Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. And then that's the voice of Kamina, by the way. Gohan is Kamina. And Michelle Ruff, who plays Yoko, she's voicing a lot of people in Bleach. So, yeah, this cast is stacked. A stacked cast. Also, Yoko believes the voice in Sailor Moon. She's Luna and Sailor Moon. So, yeah, stacked cast. But anyway, back to the story here. Just want to get a shout out to the actors in here. But back to the story. They team up and finally defeat the Spiral King. And by the way, this got me when he did. The Spiral King lost in his gunman, lost in his mecha. I want to say Gundam now, but lost in his gunman. And he was like, you know what? I might be out of gunman, might be out of mecha, but I'm not out of options. Throw these hands. And him and Simo actually fight with a fist fight to the end. And what happens is Simo stabs him with his spiral drill and kills him. As Lord Genome is dying, he's pretty much like, hey, you guys may have won the war, but you guys have no idea what's going to happen in the future. Beware of the moon kind of thing. So Rusio look at the moon at the end of the episode, and Simone and Team Gurren is all like Gurren at this point, because they have the battleship as well, are like celebrating. They're all happy and everything. Rusio's looking at the moon like, what's going on up there? And as the show continues, episode 16, because that's 1 through 15, episode 16 kind of ticked me off. It's a recap from 1 through 15. Now, if you watch my Legend of Korra season 4 review, you know how I feel about recap episodes. Either they lost budget or they didn't have enough budget, or I know it came out from April 2007 to September 2007, but you don't need a recap if it's a weekly series, weekly release. So why are we recapping this? Like, that's unnecessary. Just move on. Instead of being 27 episodes, make it 26 episodes. Or you want to do a recap at the finale of the series. I do not agree with it, but it's one way to do it. Now, granted, there is a 7-year gap between the end of the Beastmen War and the new arc when everybody's older. 7 years. They now have built a city on the surface called Kamina City. But the recap episode was a recap from 1 through 15. It started off with them drawing, like drawing the logo for Gurren Lagann, and I was like, or Gurren Lagann, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then it was like, recap this. I was like, I just watched episode 1 through 15. You don't need a recap. And mind you, I watched it over a few months, so I didn't need a recap of what I missed or what I saw. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Also, there is a obligatory bathhouse scene that you have, a spa scene. It's like every shonen anime needed to have at some point. It wasn't really necessary in this, but they did it anyway. Fine, but that was part of the recap, and it ended up leading to a big battle, which I guess fine, but it's like you made a spoiler. You try to kill time by adding that in there. Just make filler arc, make filler stuff instead of making a whole new episode as a recap within the middle of the series. But whatever. We jump to the future. It's 7 years in the future, or 7 years present day now, since the events of the Spiral King battle. And Kamina City is now ran by Simon and Rusio. Rusio is like the right-hand man to the president. He is like the vice president, and Simon is like the main leader of all this. Well, the moon, like Majora Mask, Legend of Zelda, decided to drop to the earth. And as it decided to drop to the earth, Nia becomes possessed by the anti-spiral because she was created by the anti-spiral. She's now possessed by the anti-spiral. They're saying like, hey, we're coming. The surface has now hit 1 million people. We're gonna come destroy the human race because the human race has a possibility to take over spirals and decide to destroy the universe, and we're gonna stop that. We're keeping y'all in check. So the moon is about to crash the earth. Like, you have like what, 90 days like that. So it's a number, maybe it was a week or 30 days. It was a number between 30 and 90. I could be wrong on that. It's not really that important. Just know that this moon is gonna crash the earth, and Rusio's like, well, we gotta blame Simon because Simon fought the anti-spirals, kind of destroyed the city in the wake of the battle. So like some Avengers stuff here, they fight the battle, but there's a lot of damages to the city. But Simon's like, I'm not waiting to watch and figure it out. Like, we are Gurren Lagann. We are the protectors. We need to get out there. So he runs into the frame, cause damage, collateral damage. You know what heroes do. It's like then every Avengers movie is always collateral damage. And Rusio like, bump that. We had losing cities and buildings. Nobody died, or losing cities and buildings. Like, Simon's like, well, do you prefer that we just sit around and do nothing and everybody else die more? Like, no, I'm gonna get out there. People are upset. They want Simon's head. They're like, this man has caused danger and problems left and right. Cut him at the stake, drop his head, put it in a basket. Death to him. And Rusio's like, yeah, that sounds about right. People was like riding against Rusio, and Rusio was like, I'm gonna save myself, which is people needs a fall boy. They need somebody to fall on the sword, and Simon, you're gonna be that person to fall on the sword, as I use science to try to find a way to stop the moon from dropping. So they throw Simon in jail. Simon's in jail. He meets Vero again. Vero's like, look, man, what you've been doing on the earth, it's been bad. People have been hiding from you guys because they don't want to be a part of your regiment. They want to be part of your city, and they're walking away. They don't want to be a part of this, and yet you're forcing them to be a part of this. And Simon's like, well, I'm not. I just want people to be free. And he's like, yeah, but you're doing it the wrong way. They get into it kind of thing. Yoko comes to break out Simon. Simon and Vero have some understanding of each other. They team up, and Yoko, Vero, and Simon and a bunch of other people go to stop Rusio. And Rusio is trying to an extent save the world, and he's trying to go up into the space to fight the moon. It's not working. Simon comes up, saves everybody. They find a way to fight the moon. Realize the moon is actually a anti-spiral projection. It's not a real moon. It's just something the anti-spiral have there to drop on the Earth in case Earth gets too populated. The real moon is actually in a pocket void. They get the pocket void moon out. Moon back in place so for humanity doesn't suffer and the planet doesn't get destroyed. But now they got to go fight the anti-spiral. They go into the anti-spiral homeworld to fight them across the universe. The anti-spiral, like, we're here to keep people in check. You guys are not good. You guys don't know how to control y'all. Let power consume y'all. Everybody's like, no, we don't. We're a team. We're working together. A lot of people die in this battle. Like, Kitan dies. By the way, at one point, he tries to hit on Yoko. Yoko has kids. Like, you have kids, but he doesn't know who. But yeah, he trying to express his feelings for Yoko because why not? Like, I get it. Yoko's gonna be a hot character. I understand that. And I understand that everybody's attracted to her. I get that. But not every guy needs to hit on the girl just because she's hot. Everybody else has other people from earlier in the series, other characters branched off and got together and have families and stuff like that. One of my favorite characters are the twins who just repeat each other's words and say things in sync and get upset at the same time. They're goofy. I like them. They die. Kitan dies in his attempt to stop the anti-spiral from prevailing. He dies. A lot of people die in this battle, which I'm like, man, this is crazy. The guy who doesn't die, the dude who went to space for his friends, that his wife let him go into space, he stayed alive. Also, Lehman stayed alive, who is like the engineer, the science guy. He stays alive, which is cool. He's kind of one calling the shots, but also doing the very Brock thing where he's like, what's going on here? And he's explaining stuff, and there's a joke a few times when people look towards him to explain what's going on. And he's like, beats me, man. I'm out on this one. But then Lord Genome comes back, and he, who's the Spiral King, they put his head on a robot and his body takes over because his spirit is able to overcome being decapitated and merges with the robot, and he is now sentient again. And he's like, me and my people, we actually trying to stop the anti-spiral. We failed, and my attempt to put everybody down beneath the earth was the way for me to save the human race, but now I know I was wrong. Simon, let's do this together. And they team up, and I'm like, what is happening? By the way, this dude was the one explaining everything at one point. He was the exposition dump for every single scene. Anything weird happened, exposition dump. Anything weird happened, exposition dump. Weird thing here, exposition dump. He was that guy, and now all of a sudden he is now a piece of the battle, and he's fighting with Simon to defeat the anti-spiral. Sure. Okay. So they do that. They team up, fight together, and at one point the anti-spiral gets the upper hand and does the thing from Naruto where, and I'm really blank on his name, where Madara does the Tsukuyomi, I believe, wherever the kids would be, the ultimate Tsukuyomi. I didn't finish Shippuden, I'm working on it. But he puts everybody in their own fantasies for eternity. And that's where everybody sits at for the moment. But Buddha transforms. He transforms into a humanoid beast creature and just gets caught by the anti-spiral. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why are you doing this? So back into everybody's mind, everybody's caught up in their own universe, their own story, and using and how they got caught together because they're all together now. The Gurren Lagann has combined with the battleships, combined with all the pieces. Everybody's on the same ship, and everybody's fighting the anti-spiral and one giant gunman. They get caught up, and Kamina comes to Simon's vision and pretty much say, hey man, I always been here. It's time for you to believe in the you that I believe in, or believe in me that believes in the you, but it's time for you to take over. Always been here. And Simon's like, you're right, and he breaks out of it. Mind you, and I kind of forgot to mention this earlier, before they went back into space, Rusio was going to self-delete himself, and Simon talked to Rusio to talk him out of it by saying like, hey man, believe in you that I believe in. Believe in me that believes in you. Like, you did what you thought was best, and it's time for you to step up. And Rusio decided to help from home and decided to help the crew and to help them defeat the anti-spiral. Editor Ali here, there's a few things I want to talk about when it comes to Rusio. Because now that I get the point that like he almost tried to self-delete himself, it was the post 7 years, the flip after the war, where he went from being the mild, meek kid in the background when it came to incidents of the show to being a kid who's now, I should say adult, who's now like, we gotta go straight all in, get rid of Simone, get rid of the best guy who've been having, forget courage and forget all this. Let's go with logic and let's say we'll try to destroy the moon ourselves and blame the guy who, you know, who helped us get here for the first part. He's irresponsible. What, dude, what are you talking about? Like, Simone was putting himself in danger to save everybody else, but yet here you are now trying to put the blame on him and sacrifice not only somebody you consider a dear friend of yours, sacrifice him and not stand behind him as like as his vice president or second in command. Now you're trying to get rid of him, throw away Gurren Lagann. Like, what? It made no sense for that character to have such a hard flip without like any tragic story. Like, what happened to him from being like this person who believed in religion and believed in, you know, the Gurrens, the gunmen as like gods, which I understand that Simone and Kamina kind of told him like, hey man, those are not gods. They're gunmen. And I understand when Kamina died, he might have reflection on when, you know, Simone's going in him like, where's your God at now? But there was no character flip. Like, he was almost unfazed by it when Simone was going off on him when he was younger. But now he's like an adult and he's like almost complete 180 on his character. He went from mild and meek to bold and brash and like, we need to make harsh decisions and get rid of Simone because he's the problem to all this. And then find yourself trying to self-delete yourself when your plans fell through and Simone had to come and save you. Like, that's not a leader. That's a coward. And I'm glad Simone showed up to say, hey man, grit your teeth and punch him in the face and then like knock some sense into him because he needed it. He needed to be knocked in some sense into to show that like, hey man, you thought you did was right. Why are you upset? Why are you trying to run away from this? Stand behind your words, face your consequences. I'm not mad. Like, we all had to make tough decisions. It is what it is. So yeah, that was a very interesting character flip for me when it came to that character, Ruscio. But at the end of the day, they all became friends again. The power of friendship wins overall. So, all right, back to the video. Keep enjoying it. And also, please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. Back to the video. At the back and forth of the power of friendship and love and rescuing Nia, they defeated the anti-Spyro. And the anti-Spyro was like, you guys are gonna ruin this. And Simone was like, no. We are humans. Yes, we make mistakes, but we are together. We have powerful friendship and fighting spirit, and we're pretty much going to defeat this. And that's exactly how the end of the show happens. Now, I do want to mention that Nia and Simone do get married. They get married, and after the wedding, after they finally say I do to each other, Nia fades away. And the reason why is because the anti-Spirals are destroyed. They're gone. And Nia was made by the anti-Spirals, meaning her existence was tied to them. She only had a little bit of time and she fades away. Now, a big plot when they got to the 7-year jump was that Simone did propose to Nia. Nia didn't really know what marriage was, but then the girls was like, no, if you care about him, you like him, you kind of would do this thing with him. And Nia was like, yeah, I do. But she never got the chance to say that, you know, well, she did get to say that she likes him and she wants to spend the rest of her life with him. And Simone was ecstatic about that, but they really never got the chance to actually get married. And this is their moment of happiness. And then she died after that. Simone was like, well, I'm done protecting the world. Hey, I'm living to the new generation. And he goes on to become pretty much a wanderer. And he bumped into a kid in the after, kind of like the show ends like that, him just walking off. Well, they do like an epilogue where Limon and a bunch of other characters like Ruscio and them are all around. They're all like preparing Gurren Lagann, the new wave of them. Jimmy, a kid who's been there since the beginning of the first half, he's now the new guy taking care of it, and they're going to space to be with the other gunmen and other human races to stop any trouble that come along in the galaxy. But Simone kind of ends the series just like as a wanderer, and it's like, yeah, this is how it is. And I felt kind of some way about that because I'm like, this dude been to so much, and at the end of the series, he's just like, I'm okay with being a wanderer. Like, no, he lived the rest of his life peacefully. Like, I understand. I guess that's his way of living the rest of his life. But like, the dude helped save the world. He lost the love of his life, and now he just kind of like, I'm just here to be the guy just to chill, relax, and wander the world. And like, not even a teacher. Like, if he's a teacher and like taught the new generation, that'd be one thing, and live his life peacefully. No, not even that. He's just a wanderer. And I just like, okay, cool. Gurren Lagann is a good anime. I did have fun watching this anime. I did have fun reviewing this anime and watching it. And there's times where the dub commentary, the dub voice acting, writing is sometimes cheesy. It definitely is anime about overcoming challenges and using the fighting spirit to defeat the bad guy. Like, that is all there. All the things you see in other stuff is there. It's 2007, so therefore I kind of give it grace. Now, this is 2026 when this came out. I've been like, you're just doing the same thing everything else is done. You're not really changing the game. With this one, the animation is definitely really good. It holds up well. The drawing style and different techniques really, really well. It's great. The fighting sequences, good work, good coloration, good, like, it's designed and choreographed really, really well. The sketch and everything done right. Animation's top tier in this. Holds up till this day. The music of the show is not that great. Like, to me, the music doesn't really stand out. The ending theme song in the back half of the series does. I like the ending themes on the back half of the series. The opening theme song is okay, but it's not like a banger. You're not gonna put in your top 10 anime openers. It's just not. But it's good. It's just not the best. Like, it's gonna be my top 50. I'll put it in top 50, but I really can't really tell you how the rest of it goes after the opening soundtrack of it. But the ending theme song is a good ending theme song for the back half of it. They have this really weird, like, rapping orchestra song in here, like, roll, fight the power. Like, they say it one, like, cutscene, like how Full Metal Alchemist, like, Full Metal Alchemist, Full Metal Alchemist,
Full Metal Alchemist, Full Metal Alchemist, Full Metal Alchemist.
It's the in between commercial break. Well, they kept doing it. Whoa, fight the power. Whoa, fight the power.
Roll, fight the power. Roll, fight the power.
Like, they did that back and forth. I was like, okay. But then at the end of the series, they actually played a song, and it's like this orchestra mix that I was like, kind of vibing with, but not. It's not the Bruce Falconer Dragon Ball Z theme song or soundtrack, or it's not gonna beat out Bleach's soundtrack when it comes to music, or G Gundam's soundtrack. Now, that's a soundtrack there. You want to listen to some good music, that's a good soundtrack. But it's not beating out that, but it's okay. It's okay. Overall, Gurren Lagann, I have to give this anime, I have to give this a B. It gets a B for me. At 85% out of 100%, a B from A through F perspective. The music is not the best, but it's okay. The characters are where it's strong as that. Storyline sometimes feel like it's rushed or feel a little convoluted, or the exposition dumps left and right happens. Sometimes things happen, characters like, fine, I'm just dealing with it. Like, Vero with the Spiral King came back. Vero like, Spiral King is back, and the Spiral King had like a different consciousness, and because he wasn't 100%, and he said, I am now different because the weight of my human flesh is gone. And Vero was like, well, sound like you've been changed. Why do we need to be told that he's been changed? So there's exposition that's a lot in this series that doesn't need to be necessary. Like, the viewer can see what's going on. Sometimes the bits and pieces where they do the recaps, we don't need the recaps, and that whole episode where you recap the whole episode was almost unnecessary. You could have took it down and just have been 26 episodes to 27. But overall, and then some of the rushing storyline where, like, Yoko just kisses coming out of nowhere, and then they needed that to push Simo into a state where he could not perform well, or Buta turn into a humanoid Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan 4 Sonic the Hedgehog character just to get caught up. Like, the dude was powerful as is, and he's supposed to be doing something, being like got caught. I was like, what's the point of that? It's Gohan coming to save the kids from Majin Buu just to get sucked up into Majin Buu. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? But other than that, there are good pieces of this anime that I enjoyed. I might go back and watch a few episodes. I might not. The ending of it kind of was like, when are we done? To be honest, we got it, the power of friendship and love, but we're kind of dragging this fight out for no reason. We know they're gonna win. How are you gonna make it win? How are you gonna make them win? That's why I was like curious at. Now there are things in this where like the Naruto Shippuden ending where everybody gets put into their own little universes, their own little stories and dreams, and living out their lives and stuff like that. That happens in this. Now this was a very short segment of it, but I feel like I have a feeling Shippuden kind of took that from this. Oh, one more note. I do want to say this was an anime first before it became a manga, which is cool. Kill la Kill is the same way. It was an anime first before it got turned into print. That's cool. So this is like original anime, original story. So I can see maybe it wasn't really fleshed out there. It was like, we want to know how it's going to end. But then you have your character at the end of the day. It was like, well, he's a wanderer again. Like, the dude came from dirt, got out of dirt, lived a good life, and then he's like wandering for the rest of his days as somebody who maybe he took his money, maybe he didn't. But to me, it was like, when you see him again, he's kind of like wearing raggedy clothes and just like a shell of himself. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? But, you know, overall, I think it was a fun anime. I had a good time watching it. I'm getting a B, an 85%. If you've seen Gurren Lagann, what did you think? Please, I probably said it backward, Gurren Lagann, but Gurren Lagann, what do you think? Please put in the comment section below. See you guys on the next episode of Ali Reviews, and keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. I appreciate that too. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let your friends and family know about this series. Also, you can watch more episodes here and on Patreon, patreon.com/Ali Zakka. For $2 a month, you get to watch new episodes of Ali Reviews and Ali Plays before they come out on YouTube. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode, and keep being awesome.